What's up, you guys? It's me again. This block of time between Sunday night and my first overnight shift of the week that starts on Monday is like the most important 24-hour block of the entire week. Through the Sunday shift, I have to make sure that I have all the predictions done for this week's UFC card. I have to make sure that I have backlogged 2 or 3 scripts and presentations in order to record videos so I can edit them throughout the week if I don't get through the bulk of it before I go to work. I have to make sure that I have a bunch of shorts to post through the week as well and backlog those too. But you know what? We move. Was that Brian Battle was talking about in the DBX interview? He was like, the load doesn't get lighter, your legs get stronger. Come on. We're locked in, bro. You know, I'm gonna stay with it. Today we're going to be talking about UFC fighters that you probably have forgotten about by now. Not like these old retired guys who nobody even wants to remember in the first place. I'm talking about guys who are still active in the roster or they just got contracts on the Contender Series. And we're just too focused on other things to remember that they're actually pretty cool too. I mean, I have placeholders there. These are the fellas, bro. If you want to know what my number 1 and number 2 goats of MMA actually are, I know I had it documented as Habib and Ilia Topuria in the other video. It's really Rogerio Bontorin and Malcolm Gordon, bro. Real ball knowers. They see me eye level on this one. We're gonna go through this list. Let's take a look at the first entry right now. I think that I'm going to have the camera centered like this. This guy, Aaron Pico, nobody's talking about what's next for him. And dude, even though he did get chinned brutally by Lerone Murphy, as a result, Lerone Murphy has gotten so much more clout off of scoring this clip over my boy, who I thought was going to win this fight. And for all intents and purposes, like I said the night of, he would have for sure won this fight if he didn't lose this fight. You know, if he didn't get knocked out cold, bro, then that's the only time that I use that satirical argument and low-key kind of mean it. Because, I mean, bro, he was looking good. And, every one of his tools was working. I'm not sure if Lerone Murphy is high-level enough to have let him work in some of the different areas that, he has his strengths in, in the boxing. Was he, letting him barrel his lead hand into the liver of Lerone Murphy as he shelled up against the cage? Was that all, calculated? Was he allowing himself to get double-legged against the cage? He had no problems getting up Lerone Murphy, and he was maintaining distance and setting up that elbow, potentially the entire fight. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But you can't convince me that if you were to put Aaron Pico in the octagon against some goober like Jong Young Lee or Darren Elkins, he wouldn't spark that guy just by giving him a stern look from across the cage. Aaron Pico has potential in this division. It's just we definitely overhyped him way too much. He may end up being though. If they don't go about matchmaking him properly, he can for sure get chinned fighting the way that he was fighting against Lerone Murphy in his debut. That's a very, chinnable fighter. And he's never really been known for his durability, too. Pretty much all of his losses are by getting flatlined. And this was no different. This was probably just the worst time that it happened. But what's the saying? It's sometimes lightning strikes 5 times. Is that what it would be 5 KO losses for this guy at this point? I still believe in him. That is still my boy! He was just a victim of grandiose expectations. No slow build for this guy. Looked like he had the world in his palms for about 2 minutes in his UFC debut. It looked like he was going straight to the top. I invested in his stock, and for a second it looked like I was an original investor of Bitcoin. And I was about to be able to boast on having picked Aaron Pico to beat Lerone Murphy all the way up until this day. Being yeah, I had Aaron Pico as an underdog at UFC 319, and he vindicated me. Instead, he made me look borderline chromosomal for picking against a UFC guy in a Bellator fighter's debut. But I digress. We're going to continue through the list, talk about the next fighter right now. This guy is going to be Alden Corria. Alden Corria, listen, man, this guy is cold. This guy is really nice at fighting. And I should have picked this guy on the basis of 2 different things that I didn't know about him leading up to his UFC debut against Alessandro Costa, which he won in flying colors. I knew one of the 2 different things. I knew that he was an ex-Fury FC champion and that he beat a pretty well-established fighter in that promotion in order to get the belt. But the detail that I was spared of knowing before he made his UFC Octagon debut was that he's a training partner of Joshua Van, which makes sense because he has excellent boxing and really good takedown defense. And for the fact that he is a boxer, his scrambling and movement on the ground is actually pretty good. And he was able to deal with the offensive wrestling of Alessandro Costa, who himself is a very strong BJJ practitioner. But even though this guy did so well, it seems like his debut kind of flew under the radar. Not a lot of people are talking about this dude in what he may do in the future. That's pretty much the entire point of this video, is guys who like have a lot of upside, but nobody seems to be like mentioning their names in any discussions about their divisions or who's hot right now. I think that Alden Corria is definitely a notable name at flyweight. He may follow in the footsteps of Joshua Van, taking the exact path that he's taken into the rankings and potentially even getting a number by his name. Some really nice boxing on him, so I believe in this dude. I be seeing Marcus McGhee on my Instagram timeline. Anybody who is interacting with MMA spaces on their phone, they probably have seen the calmest skate vids that you've ever witnessed firsthand on Marcus McGee's Instagram page that just randomly pop up on your FYP. I be seeing these, dude, and he's actually cold at skating. He posted a video of like outtakes of one of the montages that he made, and even him messing up tricks just looks, he's icy. My boy Marcus McGhee has so much swag, so much sauce, it's ridiculous. He took a fight with Peter Yan while unranked. He still did well. The guy has brick hands. This is going to be a dude that will eventually become ranked. The fact that he didn't get completely outclassed by Peter Yan, and at least not to the point where he was like getting finished or had any danger of being finished. The fight was largely, I mean, not very competitive on the feet, but he was hanging in there at the very least. Nobody can say that he went out like a mark-ass sucker in Abu Dhabi, and he wasn't expected to accomplish anything in that fight. Especially for the type of fighter that we all like to praise Peter Yan as. This guy should have been disintegrated on that card. I think it was Rainer de Ritter versus Robert Whittaker. But no, he hung in there. He looked pretty solid. Against lesser comp, he's probably just going to end up knocking them out like he had been doing before he got this fight with Peter Yan. I'm excited to see his octagon return. Marcus McGhee is that man. The next fight that we're going to discuss is going to be Raul Rosas, bantamweight. Chiwiwis. That's going to be in the UFC and part of like the timeline and the vernacular of MMA fans long after his time passes. This man has already solidified himself as a GOAT in one respect. He has one of the best taglines ever, and he just said it in passing, and it's become a cultural phenomenon. But the influence of Chiwiwis is fading with Raul Rosas for as long as he's not fighting in the UFC. He's definitely enjoying his time away from the sport and probably getting better too. I'm not sure what type of injury he sustained leading up to the Rob Font fight, which is the reason why we didn't see him compete at UFC Noche. Dude could literally be top 15 right now, because I think that he potentially would have beaten Rob Font, and David Martinez is in the exact seat that Raul Rosas could have found himself in. Granted, he took that fight and actually made it to the event. This is a young bull with lots of potential no matter what. He's maturing in the UFC, which is like one of the most difficult things that you could probably do in the entire sport of MMA. Came into the promotion. I think he had less than 10 pro fights, and he's getting better every single time that he has an octagon appearance. He's finishing fights. He's dominating fights, and he's still a young man. If I had any guess, he's probably just labbing at his gym so that whenever he does come back, he's even more complete than whenever he was the last time that we saw him out. It's Chiwiwis, bro. This guy's for sure got it. Next, we're going to talk about Kevin Vallejos at featherweight. I remember we compared this guy to Ilia Topuria as he was getting his contract off of the Contender Series. The dude who he body shot TKO'd in order to get his contract got knocked out even worse by that Larian Douglas fellow. And so, the feat is the feat, you know. I guess he had knocked out another Asian fighter. I think he was either Korean or Japanese before he had fought with Danny Silva. And he had a pretty close fight with Danny Silva, all things considered. And now nobody really cares. He hinged his hype on his likeness with Ilia Topuria. And those are just, like, way too big of shoes to fill. Whenever people expect you to look like that dude, this once-in-a-lifetime fighter who has touch of death power, nobody can deliver that type of payload that isn't first name Ilia, last name Topuria. And that's like not even glaze, it's just facts. For people to be like, oh yeah, well this dude is like this guy who we've never seen before and has a completely unique skill set compounded with God-given power that again we've never seen before. We're going to be let down at some point by the experience of watching this dude fight, because not everybody's going to be built like that, and that's okay. He still has very clinical boxing, overstated finishing capabilities, because for all the times that he did hurt Danny Silva, which was kind of few and far between in that fight, he did have his fair share of flush lands in that one, though. It didn't seem like he was anywhere close to finishing the fight at any point. And he had to keep his wits about him, too, to make sure that he wasn't on the receiving end of a shot that could have put his lights out. Because, they were scrapping, dude. This was a scrap. Again, this is another young fighter. He's going to show us what we need to see out of him in due time. And I think that he's going to only go up. There's a potential for a dude like this to hit his skill ceiling, especially with the way that he likes to pocket exchange and just phone booth it with all the guys that he fights. He may end up meeting his match and getting chinned. But, Kevin Vallejos, he's definitely going to put on more entertaining fights. Whenever he gets his next announcement and fight booked, I'm going to be counting the days down until he makes his next Octagon appearance. This guy is pretty cold. I think this is certainly one of the better talents that we have at 145 right now. This is another dude who pulled out of a fight just recently. I mean, no, he didn't pull out of a fight. Correction. Jonathan Micallef, he didn't pull out of his fight with Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott got like a flu or something in Australia, and this was like right before the weigh-in. Or they might have even have weighed in, and then Oban Elliott was like, nah, fam, I can't do this. Jonathan Micallef was supposed to fight him in Australia. This is a very enigmatic fighter that we don't really know that much about, Jonathan Micallef. He beat Kevin Gisette super easily. He didn't sweat at all, and he looked great in that fight. It could be argued that even though Brian Battle finished Kevin Gisette, Jonathan Micallef beat him better just by technically outclassing him for the duration of this fight. I'm not really part of the camp that believes that winning a fight by decision I'm not really part of the camp that sees winning a fight via decision where you're schooling your opponent for the duration of the entire fight as like a superior feat to just knocking them out and showing that you have the capability to finish them. I think that's always going to trump a decision. But the interesting bit about this Micallef fellow is that he's very skilled, and he definitely has striking that I care about watching at welterweight, being match made with other good strikers. But also the fact that since Oban Elliott pulled out of his fight with him in Australia, we haven't had any news on anything like as an update for what he has planned next. They're likely shelving this guy for a numbered event because, I mean, he's that good. But it's going to be interesting to see like where they choose to go or take Jonathan Micallef as far as scheduling. He's nice, man. He's nice. Really good kickboxing. He's shown some shreds of being a good grappler as well on scenes prior to coming to the UFC. He has a lot of submission wins. Won his Contender Series fight with the triangle choke. So this is another homie who I think actually might do something cool and might actually go on a run. I'm not sure if his leg is messed up because in his fight with Beisenger, he did get his leg chopped at, and he was taking false steps, leading to him getting TKO'd. Whenever he started wrestling with Beisenger, he stopped grappling with him, indicating that there might have been something wrong with the knee on his lead leg that led to him like suffering so much pain that he just kind of withdrew from the fight. We have to cut this dude a break, though, because he was fighting up a weight class on short notice, like 5 days short notice. He is the CFFC Cage Fury Fight Championship champion, which is like kind of a word salad. That's a good organization, though. This guy challenged a really scary, young and hungry Chechen prospect in his debut and took the fight to that guy, had him on Chicken Street on numerous occasions in the fight with Beisenger. This was a debut that he made, again, on 5 days short notice against a Skynet Terminator robot, and he still looked okay in the fight. So, Eric Nolan, he's a welcome addition to the UFC roster. I think that he's going to accomplish at least something here. Depending on who they matchmake him with, we might see him end up getting a few finishes and have some fun fights because his debut was it was a show. I enjoyed it a lot. Next, we discuss Manoel Sousa, and through the entirety of the Contender Series, I'd mentioned this guy's name a few times. He'd KO'd Mauricio Hufi in a super niche Brazilian promotion. He showed a crazy amount of guts in his Dana White's Contender Series outing as well. This guy was like getting his freaking shoulder ripped apart in an Americana by a dude who was just cranking the sub from bottom full guard. It was such a messed up angle that the dude had gotten on his arm, but Manoel Sousa just stayed cool, rode out the pressure that was being applied to him, and then just stuck to his game plan, patiently waiting for his opportunity to just let loose some of the craziest combinations on the feet that I've seen at this weight class, at least from that season of the Contender Series. This guy is kind of like a Brazilian Michael Chandler with fight IQ and sub defense. This dude is like an ex-PFL champion. Him and Mauricio Hufi took like diverging paths after their fight. Mauricio Hufi did have his moments in that one as well. Whenever I mentioned, Manoel Sousa knocked out Mauricio Hufi and he could likely do it again, people were like, oh, well, Mauricio Hufi had almost knocked out Manoel Sousa. And yeah, he did drop the guy. Manoel Sousa definitely was on Chicken Street himself in this one, but Mauricio Hufi does not have good finishing capabilities. He is not a stiff puncher. He has to use some type of like crazy dynamic strike like a knee or a wheel kick. This dude is not getting the finishes using his boxing that aren't like standing TKOs at least. I mentioned all this to say that Manoel Sousa is coming to the UFC as a pretty well put together MMA fighter. He's going to be competitive with a lot of different dudes in this division of varying skills outside of the rankings. And I think eventually it's not a far-fetched idea to imagine him holding a ranking because, I mean, I think he's got it like that personally. So I'll be excited to see what Manoel Sousa does in his debut. Matchmaking him with the right person is going to be important because you don't want to sell this opportunity to build up a dude who has a potential to become a fan favorite. This guy has a very fan-friendly style. Nuclear bombs in his hands. Like, this dude is going to be something, and you can count on that pretty much. The last year that we're going to talk about is Levi Rodrigues. I don't know, man. I kind of have this like weird feeling about this guy that he's either going to have a funny career. It's going to be a funny career in the sense that he's going to either be getting brutalized or he's going to be getting to some really cheeky knockouts that are going to make all of us just smile and giggle. Freddie Vidal was the dude who like Dana White had invited back onto the show. He's from the Ray Longo camp. He won a fight on short notice, even though he missed weight on the Contender Series. And so it was a really boring performance. But Dana White was like, I mean, I guess you took the fight on short notice, so we're going to cut you some slack. Come back on the last week of the Contender Series. We'll get you a new opponent you can prepare. So he did exactly that. Freddie Vidal promised that he wouldn't go with the same approach to the fight that he took in his like first opportunity to get a contract on the Contender Series. He comes out and looks like he's about to just go for the exact same style of fight. Levi Rodrigues creates some space and uses his absolutely disgusting hulking strength to knock out Freddie Vidal. These short shots, elbows to the side of the head, great finishing instincts on Levi Rodrigues. It seemed like the entire sequence was put in motion on complete accident. Obviously, he meant to hurt Freddie Vidal, but it was one of those knockouts where like he started elbowing the guy, and then he was like, oh, wow. Oh, it worked. And then he just followed up. Very strong shots. This guy himself is very strong. Great finishing instincts for this weight class, too. Potential cardio issues, we don't really know because it wasn't tested. This was a first-round finish. But this guy is like 6-0, undefeated in a very weak division of the UFC with the lay of the land of light heavyweight right now. So it's not a far-fetched idea to believe that this guy might actually like amount to something here. And he calls himself like the baby monster or something, the boss baby. So, I mean, that's kind of funny too. I'm excited to see what all of these fighters end up doing. Let me know in the comment section who are some people in the UFC on the roster who like you feel like guys should be talking about more because they're good, man. It's very easy to get caught up in the mainstream like discussions of who's like popping right now and like who you're excited to watch fight, who's like ranked and who are actual contenders in each division. But outside of the rankings and outside of even our known prospects are fighters who deserve praise, man. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those guys in the comment section. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video as well. I'm going to catch you boys in the next one. Peace out.